So let's try to understand the fourth dimension by looking back at the second dimension. So this is how mathematicians try to process the abstract. Here we have our two authors. We have Ed and Mike, and they are two-dimensional beings. Now, the fact that they are two-dimensional beings means that when Ed looks at Mike, he sees the outline of Mike's, let's call it, skin. Whereas as three-dimensional beings, as we are looking in, we see their brains and their organs. And that's because if they had skin on the outside covering that stuff up, that would be adding depth. So as two-dimensional beings, they don't have that kind of depth. Now here's the thing. If we want to block their view, all we have to do is draw a line in between the two of them, and that's all they would be able to see. So as three-dimensional beings looking down, we can see their insides, we can see the outline of their skin, but as two-dimensional beings, all they can see is this person's skin, and it looks normal. It looks like he's just looking at his buddy. It doesn't seem all that weird. All right, but as soon as we draw a line in between them, he can't like look over that line because that would be coming out into the third dimension. Now, could he scooch over and like move his body so that his face was right here and look over the line? Sure. But because he's a two-dimensional being, he can't come over the line out towards us in order to do that. All right, so what does that have to do with the third dimension? How do we come into play here? Well, suppose our two-dimensional beings, Ed and Mike, they have all kinds of gold because they charged you a ridiculous amount for your textbook. These are our authors again. And so they put all their gold inside their safe. All right, so their gold's inside their safe. Now to them, as they're looking around, as they're moving around their safe, it looks nice and secure. But see, we can see inside that, so we could just grab right in and steal gold. And when they go to open the safe, it's gone. But yet, to them, the seal of the vault has never been broken. They've not seen that happen. All right, that's because in the third dimension, we can come in from above. We have depth. All right. Similarly, if we were to completely encase one of them with a rope, then he would be completely separated. He'd be in a completely different area than the first guy. But if we pull that rope out into the third dimension, as we're seeing here, this is coming out into our space, then now there's no barrier between them. And we didn't have to cut or break that rope to do it. We just had to pull it into the third dimension. So when we look at this knot, it looks like it's all tied up, but we can use the fourth dimension. So again, now we are thinking about this as a 3D object, not a 2D representation as we're looking at it on the screen. This is a 3D knot. If we pull the loop out into the fourth dimension, which again, we can't conceptualize, twist it and put it back in, now it's untied, and we didn't need to cut it, we didn't need to glue it back together, we didn't need to tie it back together, because all we did was untwist it using that fourth dimension. So again, this is a theoretical idea. You want to be thinking about how we can try to understand the fourth dimension as three-dimensional beings by trying to take the place of two-dimensional beings like Mike and Ed and see how they interact with our world.